My therapist told me that I do not celebrate myself enough. So here I am. Guys, something I have been working on is finally happening this weekend, and I'm so excited and so grateful. So I am starting the week off right. North, day 2. Last year, I did something kind of exciting. I made a movie. This is a story of how I made my film, North. I created a short film, a sci-fi short film, about 2 siblings who are fighting to survive in a world that's overrun by a deadly force. Okay, the visuals are there. I wrote it, produced it, and starred in it, and it's out. It's out on YouTube. I did it. It was very hard. But wait, I should probably start from the beginning. I kept having this daydream about me and my brother. We were walking through a desert. It was like a desert. There was like sand and everything. And we were having a conversation about Game of Thrones. That is when North was born. So even though I wrote North, it wasn't until a few years later that I actually made movement and went into production on it. So I put out a crew call for North, and I don't remember the exact thing, but I was like, hey, I'm trying to make a short film and I'm looking for like people to help me do it. And this amazing woman reached out and she was like, hey, I'm interested. Here's like my information. And then we connected. I remember I went to her studio, and she had like a whole studio where they like built sets, and she was like, I will like produce this. Now, we had never talked about money, and she just made it seem like she was like, just, I have a crew of people, but if you have a crew of people that you want to look into, definitely do that. And I just remember things kept falling through, whether it was the funding that I was going to have or just not feeling like it was gonna be right. I had this DP. I told him my budget, and he was like,
oh, I can do it. That's less than what I normally do, but you're gonna have to do something for me in return.
Implying something sexual, and I like blocked him. And I just want to say that the woman who was going to produce this, I had no issues with her. The only issue that I had was with the DP. And so, we kind of I just said like, hey, so I'm going to hold off on making this for now. Left on great terms with her. I let life get in the way, and I was like, let me finish North. So I was working a 9 to 5, and I was like, okay, I'm going to set aside this budget. Also, I'm going to make the script the best that it can be. I remember I had COVID, and I literally had called Frederick, and I was like, we got to finish like the script. And we worked on it and made it better. And it was so much better than what it was before. There was more meat. And I was like, cool, this is great. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to do this right. I know what went wrong on the last shoot, and I know what needs to be done this time. And so I started actually Googling. I found a software called Studio Binder where I figured out it allows you to like organize your script. It allows you to break down the script. It also will do like, you can email your crew and you can see if they like read the email, and just all of the stuff that I needed before. So I did that in terms of pre-production. And we had written in a villain this time around. And I was like, okay, so now we need to cast them. How do we do that? And I went to Actors Access, Breakdown Services, and in order to like post your project, you have to like do this orientation. I asked a lot of questions. I emailed, I called, and then I put it out there. I made sides for North, and there were people coming through. Like, there were a lot of people submitting to my project. I was shocked. I was bamboozled. I was like, wow, you wanna act in this. This is okay. And then that's when we found Seth, and Seth, such a good actor, and to see him bring these words to life was just insane, and it was great. And of course, I needed to have crew. I went on Craigslist again, and this time I found, the amazing Jessica, who was our DP, and she had all of these awards. Like, I'm telling you, so many awards, and her specialty that she enjoyed was like sci-fi horror. And I pitched a project to her, and she wanted to work with me. And the eye that she brought to the project really was a standout. Then it was the makeup artist. And we had somebody, and then I think a few days before they dropped out, but they were like, hey, I have this friend, Marcus, who would be perfect. And Marcus really was perfect because not only was he into like just doing regular makeup, but he had a passion for special effects. So when we needed the zombie makeup, he really came through. He also had these extra props that were just great. So that was amazing. Jessica brought on her camera assistant, it was Glenn, and Glenn was really cool, and they all like bonded with the family. I really loved it. Of course, we had Gerald, who was there, and Gerald had been there throughout like the whole process. So like, shout out to you. We brought on Rod again, and Rod was doing like the BTS, but also ended up editing it. So thank you, Rod. And it was cool. So then we had the crew in place, and I had to, we had everything in place. And then I started to feel pressure. I was like, oh, wow, I am doing this.
The hardest part of making a film isn't casting or crew, it is locations, because you need permits and you need to find the right place. That is where you might run into trouble. Here's how I figured it out.
I got super lucky. Where we shot was actually a greenhouse, and it was so beautiful. We used all natural light, and I was thankful for that. And kind of that situation, if you guys want, I'll go into details about that, but I was just really thankful that I was able to shoot there. And that was because Gerald had seen it and was like, hey, I think this would be a great location, and had conversations. And then I kind of went down to meet them and kind of explain. I was like,
hey, I'm doing this film, would love to shoot here.
And they were so open, and they were like, you can do it during this time, we'll make sure it'll be during business hours, but we'll make sure that nobody comes up. And honestly, nobody bugged us. It was great. It was a completely empty greenhouse, and the way that it was set up, I was like, this is just even better than I imagined that it could have been. And then Jessica suggested the location in the Santa Clarita Mountains, so like near Six Flags. And again, perfect location. The only issue was that it was super windy. So then we had our crew, we had our locations, and then it was just time to plan out the shooting. I remember the costumes. So what I did is I bought a bunch of options for the costumes, and then like returned the ones that we ended up not using. So found the costumes. We crafty services. The big thing is you got to make sure that you have coffee, because people will be very angry. So like, having the decaf and then the regular coffee. So I did that. I had my parents doing the runs. Now, the first time that I shot North, we rented out the camera equipment, but this time we worked with Jessica and them, and we used kind of the things that they already had, which was great. And they sent us a list of what they had. The only thing where we really messed up, the thing that will make or break your project, is sound. Okay, and we did not have a boom mic. I'm not going to go into details about that, but let's just say it was a little painful in editing, but we did the best that we could do.
Despite having the boom mic issue, we had an amazing editor who was able to make the sound issues better. So thank you, Rod, if you're watching.
And then came the shoot date. Let me tell you, I had no idea, again, what I was doing, and I was so nervous because it was, it wasn't just me. So like, I wrote it, I produced it, and I starred in it. So here's the thing. I also had my family helping, and it was a very tight turnaround. I think we had the first location from like 5 a.m. to 2. That's a short turnaround. So we had to make sure that we got everything right. And a shout out to the DP, because Jessica, the way that she filmed some of the shots, like where you're literally just sitting like right here and saying your lines like this, I didn't understand how that shot would look, but then I ended up really loving it. So we had a very tight turnaround, got it done, and then I realized, we were supposed to go to a second location that day. It was supposed to be like a party scene. And then I was like, you know what, we're just going to do that the next day. So I went home and I was just on a high. I was like, I just shot that. We didn't, but oh my gosh. And I got to see the monitor, and seeing the monitor, it looked so good. I was like, wow. We in a movie. We are making a movie right now. This is legit a movie. This looks like something that could be on Netflix. Like, yes, I was shocked. It was good, and I went home on a high. The next day, though, I was a little sick the day before, not COVID, but the next day was going to be in the Santa Clarita Mountains, and I remember, Frederick, who directed, was like, hey, we're going to do a zombie scene, and I was like, what? We're doing a zombie scene? And so I was like, who's going to play the zombie? And he's like, I don't know, it'll work out. And I was like, all right. Hey, Dad, do you want to play a zombie? And he was like, okay. And also, Marcus, who was the makeup person, he was excited to do it. He got to actually do visual effects for this. And so we got to the Santa Clarita Mountains. It was a long, winding road, had absolutely no cell reception. And to get to the area, we had to do a 10-minute hike, almost a 10-mile. Whew. Could you imagine? We had to do, it was like a 10-minute, maybe more hike. And we would go up in groups. So when I went up, it was literally just me, and I'm going to insert footage because I decided to use that time to ramble about what was going on in my life.
But yeah, some guy came up and was like, have you heard about the tree people? That was creepy.
So the unexpected scene, I had to run. Listen, I am not a runner. If anything, my parents say that when I run, I run funny. So I had to run. Me and my brother, who also starred in it, we had to run while my dad chased us. And my dad is he's very in shape. He does 19-mile hikes. So we're running. And I remember just whispering to Jalen, I was like,
This is, I'm done. This is where I die. Just leave me here. Leave me here.
because I'm out of breath. And now, mind you, we're not hearing them say cut. And I'm a professional, so I'm not going to stop. So I kept running and running and running. In one take, he actually caught us. But I guess they'd been screaming, cut, 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 but we didn't hear them. As we were leaving, I remember just looking at my partners and being like, we did it. And being thankful to the crew that, they were answering my questions. I would ask them about the worst people that they ever worked with and, the type of genres that they like. And they would just answer my questions. I would ask so many. I was like, hey, if I do a web series, I remember Jessica was like, you might not want to do a web series like this because of this, this, and this. And it was just a huge learning experience. And I was just so thankful because I, along with the crew, but we did it instead of waiting around for an opportunity. Because here's the thing, you don't see people like me in the role of that. If you look at Walking Dead or any of that, we're typically the side characters. So the fact that I got to be the main character was amazing. And I realized that I'm good at producing. But yeah, and I remember going home and I was like, this is what I love to do. Because it didn't feel like I was watching the clock. It just felt right. And, a shout out to my family because first of all, I wrote it for my brother, Jalen. What started off as a reason for him to hang out with me really evolved into something different. And he's a phenomenal actor. And I remember I would just look at him and be like, you're doing so good. I would be like, wow, I really need to step up my game because he's doing so good. And then I had my little brother, Josh, in it, and he played the guard. And it was cool because I got to coach him. And it was fun because I went in his room one day and I messed things up to show him a scene. So just, I don't know, it was a bonding experience. And they did so good. So what's next? Well, here's the thing. I would love for this to be made into a show. In fact, I started calling different networks and emailing different management companies and agencies because apparently, listen, they're not gonna, I wasn't calling the big giant networks, okay? I wasn't like,
Hey, HBO, I have this product for you.
because here's the thing, HBO doesn't have a number that you can call. So I used IMDb Pro, and I started calling people and emailing them, and they were like, well, do you have an agent or manager? And then I would like email agents and managers and not hear back, or, it's hard. It's hard. So I would love for this to be made into a show. And I'm doing it, but yeah, I put together a pitch deck for it, and I, created like what this could be like. But I think for the time being, I'm just going to take a break from North, and I'm just going to go after what I love, which, not that I don't love North, okay? I love North, but North is very needy, and right now North, I'm not able to give North what she needs. Well, North is out. You guys can watch it. Watch North. The link is in my description. Watch North. Support it.
That was a long-winded way of saying that I'm going to continue to keep creating. I'm going to keep making more films, maybe do a web series, and just create dope content and get it out into the world for you guys. And I hope you guys will continue to support me. Again, North is in my description. It's there. Go watch it.
So thanks again for watching this video. I hope that it helped you. If you're going to make a movie or wondering, how do I do this? How do I make a movie? It is so hard. It's hard, but it's totally worth it. Like, go do it, go make that thing, and it may not turn out exactly how you're thinking, but it's going to be a learning process, and you're going to be so happy that you did. You can do it, and don't let anybody tell you that you need this certain amount of funding, or that you need this in order to do that, or you need an agency or big place to fund it. No, just be scrappy and make your film.